Before you realize it, another minute is gone. You did not hear it leave. You did not feel it pass. Yet something precious just slipped away forever. This is the quiet danger of time. It never announces itself, never asks permission, and never comes back. Allah draws our attention to this reality with one of the most arresting openings in the entire Quran. By time. Not a story, not a command, an oath, a divine pause that forces the listener to stop and reflect. Before we go any further, thank you for watching Islamic Insight. From which country are you watching this video? Share it in the comments, and if you love learning about Islam and the deeper meanings of the Quran, subscribe and stay with us. When Allah swears by time, it is not poetic decoration. It is a warning wrapped in mercy. Time is the one thing every human shares equally, yet uses completely differently. Rich or poor, believer or skeptic, ruler or servant, every soul moves forward 1 second at a time toward an inevitable meeting with Allah. Surah Al-Asr opens by grabbing the listener emotionally and spiritually, because it speaks to something you are already experiencing but rarely confront. You feel busy. You feel rushed. You feel that days blur into weeks and years vanish quietly. The Quran interrupts that feeling and says, "Stop. Look at what is really happening. Time is not neutral. It is not empty. It is not harmless. It is the container of your entire test." In Islamic belief, when Allah swears by something in the Quran, it means that thing holds immense significance for human guidance. Allah does not swear to convince himself or to strengthen his truth. His word is already perfect and absolute. The oath is for us because we are forgetful, distracted, and easily deceived by appearances. When Allah swears by time, he is elevating it from background noise to center stage. Time is not just the setting of your life. It is an active participant in your success or destruction. Scholars explained that time includes every moment in which a human has the chance to obey Allah, disobey him, or ignore him entirely. Each moment carries weight. Each moment is a trust. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, emphasized this reality repeatedly. He taught that people are deceived by two blessings, health and free time. This is an authentic saying reported in Sahih Bukhari. Notice what that means. Free time is not described as a luxury, but as a test that many fail without realizing it. You are not judged only by what you do wrong, but also by what you waste. In Islam, wasting time is not a small issue because time itself is the raw material of your faith, your deeds, and your repentance. Once it is gone, it cannot be recovered by regret. Then comes the shocking declaration that follows the oath, a statement so broad and uncompromising that it leaves no room for excuses. Indeed, mankind is in loss. Not most people, not bad people, all of mankind. This includes the intelligent, the successful, the disciplined, and the religious in name only. Loss here does not mean a minor setback. In the language of the Quran, it means deep, ongoing ruin. A business metaphor that implies a life invested in the wrong currency. Every second that passes automatically moves a human being closer to loss unless something interrupts that default path. This is one of the most sobering ideas in Islamic theology. Human beings are not born in a neutral state moving nowhere. We are all moving, constantly, whether we pay attention or not. Time is pushing us forward. You do not need to choose to move toward loss. Doing nothing is enough. Silence is enough. Delay is enough. That is why Surah Al-Asr is so terrifying and so merciful at the same time. Terrifying because it exposes the reality. Merciful because it does not leave us there. Imam al-Shafi'i, one of the greatest scholars in Islamic history, said that if Allah had revealed only this surah, it would have been sufficient for the guidance of humanity. Why would he say that? Because Surah Al-Asr diagnoses the human condition with brutal clarity. We are creatures living on borrowed time, spending it every second, often without thinking, often assuming we will fix things later. But later is not promised. Time is already being spent. Islam teaches that on the day of judgment, time itself will become evidence. Your days and nights will testify, your youth will be questioned, your life will be audited moment by moment. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said that a servant will not move forward on the day of judgment until he is asked about his life and how he spent it. Time is not just passing, it is recording, it is counting. It is preparing a file that will be opened in front of Allah. This is why Allah begins with time before speaking about belief, action, truth, or patience. Because none of those things exist without time. Faith needs time to grow. Deeds need time to be done. Truth needs time to be spoken. Patience needs time to be tested. Time is the field in which the entire human story unfolds. To ignore it is to misunderstand the test itself. Surah Al-Asr does not shout, it whispers. But its whisper follows you everywhere, ticking beneath your thoughts, your plans, your distractions. Every second that passes asks the same silent question: are you investing or are you losing? Time in Islam is not a background concept, not an invisible river flowing quietly beneath life. It is alive with meaning. It watches, it records, it will speak. The Quran and authentic teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, make it clear that time itself will stand as a witness for or against every human being. Every morning that arrives and every night that falls is not simply a change in light, but a page turning in the book of your life. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, once addressed his companions with words that feel unsettling when you truly sit with them. He said that there is no day that dawns except that it calls out, saying, "O son of Adam, I am a new day, and I am a witness over what you do. So take from me good deeds, for I will never return again." This narration, reported by early scholars and supported by the meaning of multiple authentic teachings, captures a deeply Islamic understanding of time. It is not empty. It speaks. It remembers. It does not forget you when you forget it. In Islam, nothing Allah creates is purposeless, and time is no exception. Days and nights were created to succeed one another, so that people might reflect, remember Allah, and be grateful. When a person wastes time, they are not just losing productivity, they are ignoring a divine sign that was meant to awaken their heart. On the day of judgment, time will not be an abstract concept discussed philosophically. It will be concrete. Specific moments will be brought forward. Youth will be questioned separately from adulthood. Opportunities will be recalled. Delays will be exposed. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said in an authentic narration that the feet of a servant will not move on the day of judgment until he is asked about his life and how he spent it, his youth and how he wore it out, his wealth and how he earned and spent it, and his knowledge and what he did with it. Notice how life itself, which is nothing but accumulated time, is the first subject of questioning. Islam teaches that you are not only accountable for your actions, but for your moments. This understanding changes how a believer sees ordinary days. A boring afternoon, a quiet morning, an uneventful evening are not spiritually neutral spaces. They are either being filled with remembrance, intention, and obedience, or they are silently slipping into loss. This is why the early Muslims were deeply conscious of time in a way that feels almost foreign today. They did not see time as something to kill or pass. They saw it as something to protect. One scholar said that he was more miserly with his time than a greedy man is with his money, because money can sometimes be replaced, but time never can. This leads directly to a powerful and often misunderstood teaching of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. He said, in an authentic hadith reported in Sahih Muslim, "Do not curse time, for Allah is Ad-Dar." At first glance, this statement can confuse people, but the scholars of Islam were very clear about its meaning. Allah is not time itself. Rather, Allah is the one who controls time, decrees events within it, and causes it to unfold according to His wisdom. Before Islam, people used to blame time for their misfortunes. They would say, time ruined them, time destroyed their hopes, time betrayed them. Islam cuts this mindset at the root. When you curse time, you are indirectly objecting to the decree of Allah, because nothing that occurs in time happens outside His knowledge and will. This teaching is profound because it reshapes how a believer responds to hardship. Instead of saying time has been cruel to me, Islam teaches you to say Allah is wise, even when I do not yet understand. Time did not take your youth. Time did not bring hardship. Time did not delay your dreams. Allah allowed certain moments to unfold in a certain way for a reason, whether that reason is visible now or hidden until later. Cursing time reflects a heart that feels wronged by destiny. Accepting time with patience reflects a heart that trusts the one who controls it. At the same time, Islam never uses divine decree as an excuse for laziness or passivity. This balance is essential. You do not curse time, but you also do not waste it. You do not blame time, but you also do not ignore your responsibility within it. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, lived with an acute awareness of time. His days were structured around prayer, teaching, family, worship, and service. He warned his companions repeatedly to take advantage of time before it is overtaken by its opposite. He said to take advantage of 5 before 5, your youth before your old age, your health before your sickness, your wealth before your poverty, your free time before your busyness, and your life before your death. This authentic teaching is not motivational speech. It is a spiritual emergency alert. Islam makes time central to faith in ways that no other system does. Every act of worship is tied to precise moments. Prayer is invalid if it is intentionally delayed beyond its time. Fasting is not just about hunger, it is about beginning and ending at exact moments defined by dawn and sunset. The month of Ramadan itself is a sacred block of time, and its arrival and departure are treated with deep emotional and spiritual weight. Hajj is only accepted on specific days. Even repentance has a time limit. The door of repentance remains open until the soul reaches the throat or the sun rises from the west, but it does not stay open forever. This structure teaches the believer that faith is not something you feel whenever you want. It is something you respond to when Allah calls. Time in Islam disciplines the soul. It interrupts your desires. It forces you to align your life with something higher than convenience. When the call to prayer is made, time itself is telling you that Allah is greater than whatever you are doing at that moment. Ignoring that call repeatedly hardens the heart, not because Allah needs your prayer, but because you need the discipline of responding to time with obedience. Even daily language in Islam reflects this awareness. Muslims are taught to begin actions by remembering Allah, to end gatherings by seeking forgiveness, to mark moments with gratitude and remembrance. These are not rituals disconnected from reality. They are anchors placed inside time so that it does not drift away unnoticed. Without these anchors, days blur, weeks vanish, and life begins to feel strangely empty despite being full of activity. When you put all of this together, a clear picture emerges. Time in Islam is not an enemy, but it is also not a friend by default. It is a test. It is a container of opportunity. It is a witness that never sleeps. Allah swore by time in Surah Al-Asr because time is the stage on which every soul proves what it truly values. You cannot pause it. You cannot rewind it. You cannot negotiate with it. You can only choose how you meet it, moment by moment, until it delivers you to your final meeting with Allah. After declaring that all of humanity is in loss, the Quran does something remarkable. It does not leave the listener in despair, and it does not offer a vague escape. It gives a precise formula for salvation, and it does so with an intensity that suggests urgency. The loss described is universal, but the exception is narrow and demanding. Only those are saved who combine 4 qualities at the same time: faith, righteous action, truth, and patience. Not one of these alone is enough. Not belief without action, not action without truth, not truth without patience. Islam teaches that time is too powerful and too relentless for partial solutions. A person may believe deeply in their heart, but if that belief never moves their limbs, time will still consume them. Another may perform good deeds outwardly, but without sincere faith anchoring those deeds, time will expose the hollowness beneath them. Faith in Islam is not passive acceptance. It is a living conviction that shapes how a person sees reality, purpose, and accountability. It answers the question of why time matters in the first place. Without faith, time becomes either a playground or a prison, something to enjoy or something to fear, but never something meaningful. Faith tells you that every moment is intentional, created, and observed by Allah. But faith alone is fragile if it remains theoretical. That is why righteous action immediately follows. Time demands proof. Each prayer prayed on time, each act of honesty when lying would be easier, each quiet good deed no one notices, becomes a declaration that time is being invested wisely. Then comes truth, not as an abstract concept, but as something actively shared. Islam does not allow faith to remain locked inside the chest. Truth must move between people. Advice must be given. Justice must be spoken. Good must be encouraged and evil discouraged, not harshly or arrogantly, but sincerely. Time corrodes communities when truth is withheld out of fear or comfort. Silence can be a form of loss. The Quran links survival from loss to mutual responsibility because no one walks through time alone. We shape each other's paths, intentionally or not. Finally comes patience, and its placement at the end is deliberate. Patience is not weakness or resignation. In Islam, patience is strength stretched over time. It is the ability to continue believing, acting, and speaking truth when results are delayed, when resistance appears, and when exhaustion sets in. Time tests patience more than anything else. Anyone can be motivated for a moment. Anyone can do good briefly. But consistency across years, through hardship and ease, is what reveals sincerity. This is why scholars said Surah Al-Asr summarizes the entire religion. It diagnoses the problem, names the cure, and explains why so many fail without realizing it. When people hear references to time in relation to modern science, especially the discoveries of the last century, it can feel surprising, even unsettling. For most of human history, time was assumed to be simple and fixed, ticking forward at the same pace for everyone, everywhere. Then came the realization that time behaves differently depending on motion and gravity, that it can stretch and compress, that it is far stranger than intuition suggests. These discoveries shook the scientific world, but from an Islamic perspective, they quietly echo something already familiar. Time is not absolute, and human perception of it is deeply limited. Islam does not rely on scientific theories to validate its truths, nor does it reduce revelation to science. The Quran is not a physics textbook, but it consistently presents time as a created dimension under Allah's control, not a master over him, and not a simple backdrop to existence. When Allah swears by time, it signals that this creation is far more significant than we assume. Science discovered that time is flexible and relative. Islam taught long before that time is a tool, a test, and a sign, never independent and never ultimate. What modern physics calls strange or counterintuitive, the Quran presents as a reminder of humility. Human beings experience time in one narrow way, and we assume that experience is reality itself. Islam dismantles that assumption. It tells us that our perception is not the measure of truth. Just because time feels slow in hardship and fast in ease does not mean it is meaningless. Just because life seems long when you are young and short, when you look back, does not mean it was random. Allah controls time in ways that escape our senses, and this control is part of His perfection. The Quran repeatedly shows that time does not flow the same way for all of creation. A day with Allah is described as being like 1,000 years by human reckoning, and elsewhere like 50,000 years. These descriptions are not metaphors meant to impress, but statements meant to break arrogance. They remind the listener that human clocks are not universal. When the people of the cave slept for centuries and awoke thinking they had rested for a day or part of a day, the Quran was not telling a fairy tale. It was teaching that time can collapse or expand by Allah's command, and that human awareness of time is fragile and unreliable. Even the hereafter itself operates outside the time we know. The day of judgment will feel long to some and brief to others. The grave will feel like a garden for one person and a constricting pit for another, regardless of how many years pass in the world above. This alone should shatter the illusion that time is merely what the clock displays. In Islam, time is not only measured in seconds, but in meaning. A single sincere moment of repentance can outweigh years of heedlessness. A lifetime of arrogance can collapse into nothing in the face of a single divine judgment. When these ideas settle in the heart, they change how a person lives. Time stops being something you chase and becomes something you respect. You begin to understand why Allah swore by it. You begin to feel the weight of moments you once dismissed as insignificant. You realize that loss is not always loud or dramatic. Often it is quiet, gradual, and disguised as normal life. And you realize that survival, according to Surah Al-Asr, is not about escaping time, but about meeting it with faith, action, truth, and patience until the very end. Many people today share the same strange feeling, even if they describe it differently. They say the years are flying. Weeks disappear before plans can settle. Childhood feels like it ended yesterday, yet decades have somehow passed. This sensation is not simply nostalgia or stress. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, spoke about this exact phenomenon long before our era. In an authentic hadith recorded in Sahih Bukhari, he said that from the signs of the hour is that time will pass quickly. Scholars explained that this does not necessarily mean clocks will spin faster, but that the blessing in time will be removed. Days will be full yet empty, busy yet unproductive, long yet somehow gone before their value is felt. Barakah will be lifted, and when barakah leaves time, it shrinks in meaning even if it remains the same in length. This explains something deeply unsettling about modern life. People have more tools, more convenience, and more speed than any generation before them, yet they feel constantly behind. Time feels tight, crowded, and insufficient. Islam does not see this as coincidence. When remembrance of Allah weakens and priorities shift toward distraction, time loses its depth. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, did not describe this to scare people, but to wake them up. When time feels like it is slipping through your hands, it is not only a psychological experience, it is a spiritual signal. It is a reminder that the world is moving closer to its end, and that individual lives are doing the same. Islam teaches that when barakah is present, little time can hold immense goodness. A short moment of sincere prayer can outweigh hours of distraction. A brief conversation of truth can change the direction of a life. The early Muslims lived shorter lives than many people today by numerical standards, yet their impact still echoes centuries later. Their time was heavy with meaning. Our challenge is not a lack of hours, it is a lack of presence, intention, and alignment with what truly matters. This leads directly to how Islam defines success. Surah Al-Asr does not measure success by how long you live, how much you accumulate, or how loudly your name is remembered. It measures success by what survives time. Wealth fades, bodies weaken, status dissolves, even memories disappear. The Quran repeatedly reminds us that the life of this world is temporary, a passing enjoyment, a brief stop on a longer journey. What remains are faith rooted in the heart, deeds recorded with Allah, and sincerity that does not decay. In Islam, true success is not about escaping time, but about using it to prepare for what comes after it. A person who fills their life with faith but neglects action is not successful. A person who performs actions but ignores truth is not successful. A person who speaks truth but abandons patience when tested is not successful. Surah Al-Asr compresses this entire philosophy into a few verses, yet it redefines everything. It teaches that time will strip away illusions and expose what was real. Only what was done for Allah, with sincerity and perseverance, will endure. This understanding changes how you see daily choices. It changes how you view delays, hardships, and quiet seasons. Not every moment is meant to feel productive in a worldly sense, but every moment can be meaningful in a spiritual one. Even patience itself is an action in Islam. Waiting while trusting Allah is not wasted time. Enduring while remaining truthful is not loss. Time only becomes loss when it pulls you away from faith, righteousness, truth, and patience. As Surah Al-Asr reaches its end, it does not conclude with celebration or fear. It ends with clarity. Loss is the default. Salvation is intentional. And the oath that opened the chapter still stands. Time continues to move whether we reflect on it or not. Every second carries you closer to a meeting you cannot delay or avoid. The Quran does not present this as despair, but as dignity. You are not created to drift aimlessly through time. You are created to rise within it. The oath by time echoes in every sunrise and every quiet night. It echoes in every regret and every opportunity. It is as if the Quran is asking the same question again and again, gently but persistently. What are you doing with what you are being given? Surah Al-Asr is not meant to be recited mechanically. It is meant to be carried, remembered, and returned to whenever life feels rushed or directionless. In Islam, time is not the enemy. Neglect is. Distraction is. Forgetfulness is. Time itself is a gift, sharp and honest, cutting away excuses and revealing priorities. Those who understand this do not try to outrun time. They walk with awareness, humility, and purpose, investing moments in what will outlast them. The oath has already been sworn. The verdict has already been declared. The path of rescue has already been laid out. What remains is a personal response, lived quietly, moment by moment, until time itself delivers each soul to its final truth.